And we are live. So welcome everybody to the post-match review show of Manchester United 2, Aston Villa 1. Very happy today on this New Year's Day. Obviously, many good tidings and well wishes to all of our subscribers, fans, watchers on this day. May 2021 be an even better year than 2020 for everyone around the globe. Obviously back to the football now. Incredibly vital and integral win once again, which puts us joint top with Liverpool on, I believe, 33 points. I think it is now. At the top of the league, obviously second only on goal difference, but joint top in terms of points accrued. And I suppose it really is shaping up to be a very interesting and exciting year for Manchester United. Normally at this juncture, since Sir Alex Ferguson has been, since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, we've not necessarily been in a title race. Even when we were second, obviously under Jose Mourinho at this point, in that particular season, we were so many points behind Manchester City that there was no real chance of us winning the title. But the longer it goes on, or the closer it seems like we are to Liverpool, the better the chances are that we're really building something. I suppose we best sort of start with the same way that we normally do. Pankaj, what did you think of the team selection by Ollie this particular match?
I think the team selection was good. I mean, Rashford, Martial playing, the selection was good with Bruno and Fred, McTominay, Pogba. It was a diamond, so I liked it with two strikers. The selection was good, but I still think the diamond doesn't really in terms of it's not really great because I think the teams can really counter you easily, and they can create chances against you with that formation, so it's not really suitable. So
okay, I think it wasn't necessarily a very surprising team selection from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think maybe the only sort of slight thing that we had was the fact that Paul Pogba was playing, and that we were obviously going with two strikers. Simply because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tends to have done over the last few weeks to have rotated the midfield so that Pogba's maybe playing slightly less than or obviously Pogba and Matic are kind of rotating in and out with McTominay and Fred. So although McTominay and Fred were chosen, Paul Pogba was also picked, which did sort of lend us more of an attacking edge to our team selection and overall tactics. But I think that the main thing for me is that team selection wise is that Ollie's clearly building a real trust and appreciation for the new centre-back partnership with Victor Lindelof obviously still out of the squad, in Eric Bailly and Harry Maguire, and that's definitely something that we want to see being worked upon, because as you sort of spoke about, I think with the diamond it does sometimes it does lend itself to the fact that we don't necessarily tend to match other teams' formations, because not many teams obviously play with the diamond, and that means that sometimes it does make it easier for teams to attack us in transition. What I did feel though this today, and obviously it has been in previous weeks, is how integral Eric Bailly's been in terms of making sure or cutting out those counter attacks. And again, it did lead us to particularly in that first half, we didn't really necessarily concede or allow many chances for Aston Villa in that first half. As I said, I was extremely pleased with the way that Ollie had set up. I think it was very, very good. What were your sort of thoughts about how we started the game? Did you think I thought we started the game quite a lot better than we have done against Wolves? What were your sort of impressions of that start, and how you felt that the game was started?
I mean, as a neutral, it was a pretty entertaining game. It was we played well, but it was an end-to-end game. I mean, both sides were quite attacking, and in the end, in the first half, we eventually got the goal, but we had some chances as well. We should have put away some chances. Pogba had I don't think so. Pogba should have left that ball for Fred. I think he could have taken a shot or something, but in the end, we got with the 3 points. That's the most important thing. But I think we could have done better with the chances we had and on the counter at few times, and we looked really dangerous on the counter attacks as well. Could have had more chances. So yeah,
Yeah, so we've
Bruno
got
had a chance as well. So yeah.
my good friend Psycho A Non again in the chat. Hello again, Psycho. Nice to see you again in the chat. Thank you very much for continuing to support and watch obviously live with us. Yeah, I think we did have quite a few chances, obviously, in that first half. Whereas we restricted Aston Villa to very few chances. I think the only chance that they really had was the one where obviously they went down the right hand side. Jack Grealish, I think, was a constant threat all game. Really, he was obviously teasing down the right hand side, past their right back, who then crossed it obviously deep, and then it was John McGinn, wasn't it, at the far post?
Yeah.
Quite a plain shot, which, to be fair to David De Gea, was quite a routine stop. I thought, it wasn't hit very hard. It was more of a placement. It was quite a good height for him, but we didn't necessarily have, we didn't necessarily cede too many chances. But obviously, attacking wise, you brought that up there as well. I think we did create quite a lot. We did, just to sort of bring it up specifically to that point, that moment that you mentioned. That was just, that was extremely incisive play again by our team. And obviously, as you said, there were Pogba, obviously could have shot, but almost it felt like the better decision was to leave it to Fred, because obviously Pogba would have been slightly off balance, and obviously had the defender next to him. But in many ways, obviously never leave the ball to Fred, because obviously
But Fred is close.
well, because shooting wise, he's as good at shooting as a Bond villain. So yeah, that's so it was a terrible decision to leave it to him. We've also got Sir Marcus Rashford in the comments as well, just with an NP, no problem. Yeah, thank you very much, Rashford. I think you played extremely
Fred
well.
did very well with that shot, though, right? Like Fred, it was close.
Well, not for me. I think Fred, in an offensive capacity, especially in that first half, I felt like we were losing the ball a lot from him and McTominay. Some of their passing was very, very suspect, and that was what although we didn't concede too many chances, we still weren't dominating the ball necessarily as much as we should have been, because they were quite wasteful, I thought, in possession. What were your impressions, actually, to be fair, on that, just as we were sort of talking about that particular topic or subject? What were your impressions of the Fred and McTominay pivot, and how well that worked in the first half, both defensively and offensively?
I think they have been very crucial. Obviously, when we have been always consistent as a team when Fred and McTominay have been in a team. Like we have seen that in the past as well. When Pogba was injured, right? And Pogba was not in the team, McTominay and Fred were in the midfield, and with you know, and we were consistent. We were winning games. There was this period we had last season where we were winning games. We had that good run, good run amount of games without Pogba, and I think Martial and I think one of Martial or Rashford were injured as well during that period, and we're still winning games and we are unbeaten as well. So I think they are really crucial. I think they give a balance to the midfield as well. So they are crucial. Fred is his work rate is immense. I mean, at times I mean sometimes his passing and all is a bit suspect. He loses the ball a bit, but I think his work rate is immense. That's what we need. Like so, yeah.
And what were your
I mean, both of them are really workhorses. So yeah, in the
yeah?
midfield. Mm.
It seemed to me, just leading on from that point, it seemed to me that McTominay was sort of almost strict orders to try and marshal Grealish whenever he came sort of dangerously inside, and it did feel like a lot of the time McTominay was, in the same way as he often has done. We've seen with Neymar, for example, this season as well. We've seen a lot of the time he does lots of cynical little fouls, lots of little digs that aren't quite, cynical or bad enough for a yellow card, but it's just like kicking at the player and just like making sure that he doesn't get past him and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and rough housing him. So that's what it seemed to me, that McTominay was very diligent and good in his terms of his duties, because it did seem that was a deliberate tactic by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to have him almost shepherding or marshalling clearly Aston Villa's most dangerous player in Jack Grealish. And as you sort of brought up there, obviously Sir Marcus Rashford and Psycho, by the way. So it's good to have lots of different viewers in the chat. And if you can join us, live and stuff, for anybody who's watching, because I know we get a lot of watchers who watch it after the fact. It's good to get interactive and garner some of your thoughts on games. So yeah. No, so obviously the game was, like I said, I feel like the only chance that we really had against us was that McGinn one. And in terms of the chances that we created in that first half, as you spoke about, obviously there was the Fred one. But it seemed a lot of the time it was, it was either the final ball was sometimes missing, or it was just, a bit lackluster and careless, I think, in terms of the final pass and the final shot and so forth. What were your thoughts in terms of, because obviously we did then see the goal scored, which I believe was in the 40th minute, so just before half time, which is always a good chance, a good time to score. What were your thoughts on the first goal, and your opinions on the goal?
I think it was I think when it was I think the first goal, right? It all credit goes to Pogba. I mean, the way he won the header and then Rashford flicked it. I think it was a good team goal in the end. I mean, Pogba headed it to Rashford. I think Rashford flicked it to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka had that space, so he had ample amount of space to cross the ball. So he just ran, and then it was instant. So he ran and then he crossed, and then Marcel was in no position to like really get there. I mean, he was just behind the defender. So it was a good thing that Marcel was aware of the cross coming in. Like something would come in, and he would be prepared. And then Marcel got the head to it. So yeah, I think it was a good team goal in the end. I think it was good ball by Wan-Bissaka, and good ball in the area. I mean, he crossed the ball in a quite good area, so in a space where Marcel could run in and um, headed in. So that's what a number 9 does. So he headed in, and then yeah, I think the keeper wasn't expecting that header from Martial. I think he went in the opposite direction. So yeah, kind of it was a good team goal in the end. I think Pogba was like, he headed the ball quite well, and Pogba's man marking and positioning was quite good as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I sort of concur with those thoughts, really. As you said, a really good team goal. In fact, everyone played their part in that goal. There's quite a few
Yeah.
different players that were involved in it. You saw, as you sort of spoke about, there's some excellent control from Paul Pogba initially in that centre of that pitch. And
Yeah.
then sprays it wide. And as you spoke about, some excellent interchange between Marcus Rashford and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then, as you spoke about, Aaron Wan-Bissaka digs the ball up nicely into a good area. But as you spoke about as well, a lot of that was made by Anthony Martial's adept running, and then a sumptuous finish, which I think Sir Marcus Rashford has put in here as well. Did Martial score a banger? He did. Well, in many ways, he did indeed score a banger. I thought that was a real striker's goal. Incredibly brilliant, and very clinical at a time when we really did need a goal. What are your thoughts in terms of Anthony Martial? Do you think that he can be our number 9 now that Cavani is? Well, he'll have to be almost, won't he? Because of Edinson Cavani's now, as you know yourself, he served the first match of his 3-match ban today, and obviously he's got the next 2 matches, which are against Manchester City, obviously in the Carabao Cup, and next week is also the home match, isn't it, against Watford in the FA Cup. So he's still got two more matches. Do you think that Martial is going to continue to step up over these 2 important cup clashes? And what do you think that goal that we've just spoken about will do for his confidence?
I think Martial will step up eventually. I think in those cup games we need him against City and Watford, against Watford and City. So um Yeah, I think his hold-up play was brilliant. He was magnificent. I mean, his older play has always been brilliant. I mean, he's not been scoring, so people think he's not been doing anything and he's useless or something. But his hold-up play has been very important for us. And people tend to forget that we when Martial is in a team, we win majority of our games when he plays when he starts. So yeah, that's one stat which, and without him, we when if he doesn't start, I mean, it's kind of like we could lose or draw, so I think he's been very important. I mean, so when he's with the team, when he starts, I think our win percentage is quite more than him without playing. So that shows how important he is to the squad, to the team.
Hundred
Yeah.
percent. Like you sort of spoken about, Anthony Martial's hold up play is brilliant. That's the one thing that you can even when he's not necessarily having a too good a game, the vast majority of the time his hold up play is exceptional. He's really really good. And I thought again today he did show that hold up play, and it was exemplary. But in terms of obviously his goal, like I said, a very well taken one. I am positive that and hopeful that he can continue that goal scoring form now, because we are going to rely on him on the next couple of games, but also throughout the rest of the season. So we need to see him amongst the goals. And obviously, I think Anthony Martial is very much a confidence player as well. I know obviously almost every footballer is a confidence player, but I feel like Martial goes on, when he's in the groove, Martial's incredibly incredibly good and competent footballer, but it's just making sure that he's in the groove as much as possible. And obviously he's now 25, I believe, Martial, so he really he's starting to move into his prime years now, so we really need to see consistency of performances, goals and assists
Yeah.
from him. So yeah, very very good in terms of the goal that he scored. um, and let's just move on to some of the comments that we've received. So we've got one from Alfred Rayner here, which says Pogba is a crazy talent. If we get Grealish, Pogba, Grealish, and Bruno will win us the English Premier League for the next 5 years. Grealish is unbeatable, superior footballer, untouchable. Yeah, I think obviously Pogba today was. I think you've already sort of mentioned it as well. It was very good. Not just defensively in terms of a lot of the balls that he was winning in our third as well, and with headers and tracking back, but also I think offensively he was very very good. We've spoken about obviously the touches that he had in the midfield as well. What are your thoughts on that particular comment from Alfred just before we sort of move on with the match? Do you feel like we could look to keep Paul Pogba, and if we did, do you feel like, in terms of Alfred Rayner's comment, do you think that Pogba, Grealish, and Bruno would win us the Premier League for the next 5 years, or obviously make us contenders, which is Alfred's assertion? What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I think Pogba will leave, but if he stays and we buy Grealish, I think our attack is gonna look really dangerous. I think Grealish is. Then you have three playmakers. I mean, in the team, three dangerous playmakers: Bruno, Grealish, and Pogba. The teams are gonna fear us. I mean, look at that attack, and then Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, and if we manage to get Sancho next summer, I'm not saying we're gonna get him, but if we manage to get Sancho, so imagine the attack: Sancho on the right wing, Martial as the number 9, and Rashford on the left. So that is going to be lethal dangerous. So I think, yeah, I think we can win the league with these three players. But and then Van de Beek on the bench as well. We have Van de Beek, so four players. I mean, it still looks dangerous. You're gonna if you still take Bruno off and you put Van de Beek in, still that's a really good attack. So I
Yeah,
think, yeah, we can win the league. Why not with that team? It certainly shows how a dangerous a team looks, and with huge depth if we get Grealish in the midfield. So obviously, yeah.
and we've also got off another comment here from Sir Marcus Rashford, who says, "I hope we win on Wednesday." I think that is the date of
Yeah.
playing Manchester City, who interestingly
Mm,
enough, obviously, sadly, have got I think it's 5 players that I heard on from Sky Sports who have who are currently self isolating because of coronavirus. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see whether they're going to still have a full strength squad in order to be able to make that semi final, whether that'll get postponed or something along those lines as well. And obviously, moving on to the transfer talk that we just sort of spoke about. So Marcus Rashford also says, "I think we need a right winger or a right midfield. Yeah, I think that's obviously sort of coming on to your point, obviously in terms of Jadon Sancho and what he might bring to the team. Another player who, of course, is coming in this month is Amad Diallo. Who's perhaps one for the future, but it's going to remain to be seen how well he'll bed in, or whether he'll come into the first team, or what his involvement will be during this season. I think the only sort of issue with what we're talking about, obviously, and you've spoken about two of our potential targets for not just this January but also for the summer. I think the only issue really is funds, isn't it? Money, because Jack Grealish has cemented his status, I think, this season even more so. So Aston Villa will be looking for crazy money for him. And of course, even though Jadon Sancho's not necessarily hit the heights of previous seasons, we all know that Dortmund are very, with other players as well. We've seen with Aubameyang, for example, and Ousmane Dembele. We've seen that Dortmund like to drive a hard bargain, like to get lots of money for their star assets. So yeah, as I said, it's going to be interesting to see how the transfers transpire. But yeah, good to sort of see on to that as well. Just talk about it, in a bit more detail. Yeah, so obviously 1-0 at half time. We'd done some. I'll get onto this other comment in a moment, but let's just remove that very briefly. Yes, so in fact, you just sort of brought that up as well. So we'll move into that now, just before we move on to the second half. So Luke Shaw appreciation comment from Red Devil 20. Yes, I mean. What were your thoughts in terms of Luke Shaw's performance overall today? Because I obviously wasn't necessarily involved in many of the major points of the game, so we can sort of discuss him now. What were your overall thoughts in terms of his performance today, Pankaj?
I think he was more involved in the attack in terms of attacking sense, and when we were counter attacking, he was more involved, and he was bombing forward, and he made some good passes in the box, and he was quite lethal, I think. And defending wise, he was not that great today, but I think offensively he was good. So overall, I would say he was really good today, and top performance by Luke Shaw as well, I think.
Yeah, I thought, to be fair to Luke Shaw, I think defensively, sometimes he can be suspect, but actually, to be fair to him, defensively, he's probably his sort of stronger part of his game. I thought offensively he was, what I did like about Luke Shaw's performance was, as you were speaking about, he was getting involved, he was moving into the box, making runs and so forth, and obviously trying his best and making passes and things like that. But again, we want to see a bit like we've had obviously with Wan-Bissaka today. One of the things that Wan-Bissaka's needs to work on with, I think we all most of us I think agree as fans, is his offensive output. He's done something that's very positive, by getting the assist today. And I want to see Luke Shaw getting some more assists as well, because he was certainly getting into good positions. I think there was one, there's quite a lot of the time where he seems to get into an excellent position, but then not necessarily pick the right ball, if that makes sense. So there was one in the second half where he got, we'll move into these sort of things in a moment, but there was one in the second half where he got, he had a very good opportunity to pick up Martial when he got right in the box, and didn't do. And Martial was still sort of gesturing his hands at his feet, just pass it to me and so forth. So that's why I think Luke Shaw needs to work on is his awareness and making sure that he really does pick his passes, because he's got into good positions today, and I think that's what we really need to see better from Luke Shaw. We'll move on to a couple of these sort of other comments momentarily, but we'll just sort of move on to the match as well, briefly. So obviously with the second half, I don't think necessarily things had changed too much in that first part of that second half. I think we did some really good stuff. I think we were controlling the game as well. A lot of the possession, a lot of the ball, and the tempo were all with Manchester United. But then we see, in typical style, really this season, obviously you and I have spoken about it on previous post matches, we see a real fragility and frailty at the back in the defence for the equalising goal. What were your thoughts in terms of, who was at fault for the goal, and what were your thoughts in terms of how we conceded that?
I think I don't know who, but someone lost the ball. I think we gave a free kick away.
Yes.
I think someone fouled him. Who was it? I don't know. Was it McTominay or two players or three players onto Grealish? So I think I can't really fault anyone for that, but I think us giving us the foul in that type of position, I blame the midfield obviously that they gave the foul away in that type of position. And then I think Villa took a quick free kick and then they scored from the cross. So I think yeah, defensively we have been poor, especially from set pieces, and yeah, I think the way we consider, I think we need a centre back in this. If I don't think so, we're going to get a centre back in January, but this month. But we need a centre back, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah, I think the issue for me on that, it seemed like on that particular goal, the equalising goal that we
yeah,
switched off, obviously it
we
was
kicked off. Yeah.
quite a sloppy foul and a free kick, but at that point where we conceded the free kick, it wasn't necessarily in dangerous position, and then obviously, Anthony Martial was doing the usual trick, which we always have, which is when a player stands next to the ball, obviously to make sure they can't take the quick one. But then Aaron Wan-Bissaka seemed to take it
Mhm.
upon himself that he was going to do that as well. And obviously the Villa player just
Yeah.
flicked out to Jack Grealish, who was then,
Mhm.
relatively unmarked. And
Mhm.
he obviously dances into the box, pulls out a great pass to their, I can't remember which player it was that scored now.
Mhm.
What's their name?
Traore.
Yeah, Traore, and he finishes it with aplomb. But yeah, again, it was such a poor goal to concede in terms of overall organisation. I think that's where we were lacking on that goal. Obviously, Eric Bailly was, I think, going for some sort of, I don't know what he was raising his hand for. But I don't know if it was maybe to say it was too quick a free kick or he was offside or whatever it was. But obviously slow to get out. And when you give Jack Grealish, a player of Jack Grealish's quality and calibre, in a free chance really to create something, which he did quite often during that second half, then eventually it's going to lead to your downfall and obviously conceding a really horrible goal. And we'll just sort of bring in a few of the comments now that we've spoken about that. So yeah, we've got from Red Devil 20, such a poor goal to give away, but an excellent response from that. Should have killed the game, had enough chances, deserved the win against tough opposition. Yeah, I think that was really the
Mhm.
sort of be all and end all of it. It's such a sloppy, horrible goal to concede and sort of give away the clean sheet. We spoke about it as well. Obviously, in the first half, Aston Villa didn't really create anything, and obviously second half they weren't. They were still creating a few chances, but it didn't necessarily feel like there was a way back for them. And I think that's
Mhm.
probably the sort of frailty of Manchester United, which we need to try and iron out as we move now towards May, and hopefully something of real significance in May. We just want to make sure that we're not giving away too many of these sloppy goals because eventually it will cost you.
Mhm.
And it wasn't even as if, like I said, it wasn't even as if Aston Villa were really pushing for it. You couldn't really see the goal coming at that
Mhm.
point. Their equaliser. So, yeah, very, very, quite poor really in that sort of front. And as I said, we'll just sort of read out another of these comments because I want to make sure we don't miss any. So, Red Devil 20, we can't play Pogba on left midfield at Anfield. We'll get killed. Was class tonight, I'll agree. But yeah, obviously we will sort of talk about Anfield maybe slightly later on as we've sort of finished the match preview itself, or the match review, I should say, itself. But yeah, I mean, Paul Pogba, there could be an argument to say that he wouldn't necessarily be useful in that particular match against Liverpool. I might slightly disagree with that actually myself, but yeah, it's important that Ollie definitely gets his team selection right now that we know that definitely we'll be heading into that match at least within 3 points, even if we, hopefully we're going to be beating. In fact, we've obviously got Burnley now, haven't we? Before that match, haven't we? So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, that's another one
Yeah.
we have to win because I'm just hopeful that we can sort of make sure that we're, if not ahead of Liverpool, hopefully the way the
Is
results go, we need to make sure we're
is
definitely.
Burnley away or at home?
Burnley is away,
Yeah.
so Burnley
Thank
away.
God.
It's,
Thank God. Yeah.
we got good away at Burnley actually. We won the last one 2-0, didn't we? I believe last season.
Yeah, yeah, we're good away. That's why.
And we've
Mm.
got Sir Marcus Rashford in here. Thank you very much for all your comments as well, and keep getting involved as well. Thank you to Red Devil 20 as well for all of your comments tonight. So we've got I'm proud of Rashford. He's young as well. Yeah, Marcus Rashford. constant danger, constant thorn in the side of other teams. I think his sort of running and energy is part of the reason why a lot of teams can't push up on us as well. And obviously, he's also said he'll stay till the stream ends. So thank you very much for that. And the final comment here from Red Devil before we move on to bits and pieces is that's true. We usually struggle against them, and obviously he's clarified that it's Burnley that he's talking about. Yeah, Burnley is almost our bogey team, really. It has been in previous seasons. But we need to make sure that we do beat them, and obviously it is away. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to start this ball rolling, keep on winning, and obviously said, "Oh, that's great, it's away as well." So Red Devil said that. But yes, obviously it was 1-1 at that point, and you could have been forgiven for thinking, if you're a more pessimistic United fan, given how sometimes United have played, that we could have thrown away games and so forth. Obviously, we've still got that stat intact that they often wheel out at half time when we're leading at Old Trafford, which is that I think it's in the Premier League era. I don't think we've ever lost a game when we've been leading at half time. I think it's a statistic. But obviously, it was disappointing to go into obviously have it 1-1 at that point. Did you feel like, obviously we then moved on to the what was ultimately the winning goal from Bruno Fernandes? Did you feel like, if we put more of a neutral hat on, did you feel like that was a penalty on Paul Pogba? And how, in other words, how did you see the penalty incident itself?
I think he did get a shoulder, on Pogba. So yeah, I think it's fair. I think it was a penalty. I think it's fair because I think without VAR, they would have given it anyway. So I think it was a penalty. I think the player got across Paul Pogba. He did try to get across Paul Pogba, so he was going to commit the foul. So his attempt was to commit the foul. So obviously, Pogba, obviously it was slightly soft, but I think it was a foul. It was a penalty.
Yeah,
surely.
I think that was probably my opinion as well. Obviously, I think we had Paul Tierney, I think his name was, on the VAR checking it, and obviously Michael Oliver was the one that gave the penalty. Obviously, I don't necessarily, Michael Oliver's definitely one of my most least favourite, shall I say, referees. So I was quite surprised that he managed Manchester United quite what was, not necessarily a stonewall penalty, should we say? That was how we can maybe classify it. But like I said, I do feel like it was a penalty. I think Pogba genuinely did get clipped and obviously went down. And then, of course, it was Bruno Fernandes, as usual, from the spot, the man that almost can't miss, really. I think he's only missed one penalty, hasn't he? And he's taken at least double figures. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. He must have taken like double figures. And I think even when he does miss penalties, often he gets asked to retake them because the goalkeeper's encroached or defender's encroached or whatever it might be. But Bruno Fernandes quite cool from the spot. Sumptuous finish, really, right in that corner of the net. Got no goalkeeper in the world saving that as well for that penalty. So crucial penalty. And obviously, then we're now backs to the wall, aren't we? For the next, making sure that we're coming back. Did you think, therefore, because we know what happened straight after the second goal, did you think that Matic for McTominay was the correct decision? And how did you feel like that affected the game and helped us to secure the win that we eventually got, Pankaj?
Yeah, I think Matic for McTominay was the right choice because whenever Matic has played, right, I think we have kept a lot of clean sheets when he's been played under Ollie. The Brighton game we won 3-0 away. The game I think the game against Wolves 1-0. So I think Matic has been defensively really good. The only problem with Matic is he's slow and he slows down the midfield. That's the only issue. Otherwise, defensively he's been great. So I think that was the right choice because if I think McTominay would have been on the pitch, I think maybe I think Villa would have scored another one. So it would have been 2-2 or something. So I think it was the right choice for Matic to be on the pitch, and yeah, that was the right choice.
Excellent. And we've got another couple of comments just very quickly to read out. So from Sir Marcus Rashford, how is your day? I'm having a great day. It was a good day anyway, but I think United winning always makes it a positive day, really. How's your day been, Pankaj, as well? I don't know if it might have been directed at you as well, so I don't know how your day's been so far.
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously the New Year celebration and all, but on top of that, United winning, yeah, it's great. It's just that this team has to stop giving me heart attacks, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And we've also got Red Devil 20. If Oliver gives us a penalty, you know it's a pen. The Scouse supporting cretin. Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm not. Wouldn't quite go quite that far, but I definitely don't like Michael Oliver at all as a referee. And obviously, yeah, as you said, Manchester United were giving us a heart attack in that final half an hour. I think it was roughly, maybe slightly longer than that with the amount of injury time that was played, which I didn't quite see why there was that amount of injury time either. But how did you see in terms of that final 30, 35 minutes? How did you sort of see our defensive action? Did you think there was any sort of key parts to that, or do you think it was just all a bit of too much of a scramble? So because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, before I let you sort of expand on your point. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talked about how United need to get into a better habit of closing down games or seeing out games.
Mhm.
It's something he mentioned in his post-match interview.
Yeah.
So how did you see those closing stages of the match?
I think we did manage to hold on in the end, and we have seen in the past how we struggle to hold on in games. And like the game against Southampton, was it when Southampton equalized in the last minute? We could have see that out,
Horrendous, yeah.
when we were in the race for the top four and all. So I think there is a mentality thing, and uh, I think Bai has been superb in the whole game, but that crucial block he made in the end, right in the end. I mean, God, I mean that was a goal there. I mean, Villa would have scored that. To be honest,
I think that's what,
he
and
I don't know how he managed to block that.
yeah, I think Red Devil 20 should sort of reiterate that, which is please, buy, stay fit. I mean, yeah, he
Yeah.
was exceptional today. I thought we'd sort of save him maybe for the final stages when we were able to do the defensive rear guard to talk about him. But yeah, I've sort of likened now Eric Bailly to Clark Kent, obviously Superman, compared to Harry Maguire's Lois Lane, because whenever Harry Maguire or Lois Lane is in danger, you know swooping down will come Superman in Eric Bailly to save the day, and he does it so often. And obviously that last block that you spoke about, he'd been doing that all the time though. Some of the interceptions he was making, some of the tackles, some of the headers. He was just absolutely everywhere today, and was an absolute rock in that centre of that defence. He was, simply sensational, exceptional today. From him. And we've also got from Red Devil 20, which is what I was to make sure I get these points across. So he's got, I said 7 points from 9 from Leicester. Wolves and Villa would be great. And what we needed to say, we're serious. We got there somehow. Big relief. Now enjoy these 2 cup games before back to full steam ahead. And HMS Pierce the League is officially boarding. He's also put as well. To be fair to Red Devil, just bringing up that initial point that he's made here, that was something that he had said, was that 7 points from the 9 would be, I do remember that comment as well on a previous post-match that we'd done, would be sufficient for us to stay in contention for what seems like quite an open title race at the moment, with not quite half the season gone. But yeah, I think we do need to make sure that Eric Bailly, no matter what it takes, stays fit, because I think we've seen over the past few matches. I mean, how many, Eric Bailly's just been superb. I think ever since he's come back in for Victor Lindelof,
Mhm.
we've seen him against multiple teams. And I don't think there's a bad match he's had. I think he's had 4 matches back now, hasn't he, for starting, 4 matches, and he's been phenomenal, really, really good. And we just need to make sure that he does stay fit. Just on that point as well, obviously we finally got it to 2-1. Obviously, it was the victory that we wanted. We've spoken about the final parts of it. Do you feel like Eric Bailly, there is a danger that because of how well Eric Bailly's played, that we will not get a centre back in January now?
Yeah, we might not get a centre back unless he gets injured. So if he gets injured, then yeah, because because I remember when McTominay or 2 midfielders were injured, McTominay and Pogba, I guess maybe, um, or I don't know who it was, Fred or Pogba, I don't know, but 2 midfielders were injured, 1 or 2 midfielders, and then we got in Bruno. So I think, yeah, I think if Pai gets injured, then we'll get a centre back. So I don't see us getting a centre back if Pai is performing so well right now.
That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, by that sort of logic, if we think about it, I think Phil Jones and Marcus Rojo are injured now, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they got injured. Not even playing, just injured. So, by that sort of logic, we are missing centre backs, obviously. But it is a real concern that because of how Eric Bailly's exemplary form, that they're now not going to get a centre back because of how well he's playing. They have to get injured, which of course we don't want because him and Maguire have really formed a solid and competent partnership, I think. And I feel like the way that we play with a quick centre back in Eric Bailly is so much more adventurous, so much more attacking. It almost brings the entire team up, to 10 or so yards because we know that the ball Eric Bailly is going to get it. So there's no.
Don't you think? No, no, no. I was just saying. Sorry to interrupt. I was just saying that. Don't you think if Bailly stays fit for an entire season, we don't need a centre back because I think Twanzi, you have Twanzi then, and then you have Mengi as well coming through. We have Lindelof, so you do have a very good depth in terms of centre back options.
I can't.
If Bailly stays fit.
Exactly, that's the problem. Is he doesn't stay fit, but also I feel like we do need another centre back because I still feel like often you'll see in teams in obviously years gone by and so forth, you'll see that how important. I think it's something like, isn't it? Strike forces. I can't remember what the exact saying is, but the end of it is obviously defenses win titles, and that's the thing, is that a solid foundation. That's what we're missing, and we do need. We definitely do need a centre back to make sure that we do have the best defence possible. On that sort of point, we've seen with Manchester City, we saw last season that when they had injuries to Laporte, for example, Stones and people like that, and they've had to play Fernandinho in defence at some point. So we've seen them obviously lose lots of games and fall away quite dramatically. And we saw obviously without Company as well that season, we saw how badly they've struggled. And we're seeing again with Liverpool this season, with all the injuries they've had to their defence, especially, hope Virgil van Dijk does get better soon, to be fair. But it was obviously, he's such a crucial player for them. Without him, they've obviously conceded a lot more points on the board. So for me, we do need a defender, and I'm just very, very hopeful that United will go in. But I just thought it was a point to bring in here because that is my concern: is that in a month's time we'll be sitting here with no defender and barely any players sort of brought in. We do have a question from Sir Marcus Rashford as well. At this point, he's just put, "Who is your favourite player in United?" So, Pankaj, if you can fire away with your favourite player at United.
I think no one should have a doubt about that. I think Bruno Fernandes is my favorite player. Since he came to the club, I mean, phenomenal. He's been great, and he is my favorite player. So yeah.
I think for me, Sir Marcus Rashford, I think slightly controversially, because of the comments that his agent has made, and the fact that he wants to leave. My favourite player is Paul Pogba. Such an incredibly talented player, and I think we've seen when he's been injured over the past couple of seasons, we've seen how much we miss his creativity and some of the influence that he can have on games. And since he's been back from injury, he's been excellent in almost every match, really. So yeah, Paul Pogba for me, and obviously Red Devil 20 has put Rashford for me, Sir Marcus, which is good because actually that's who Sir Marcus Rashford is. So that's good and positive. I did ask Dia at this point as well. I think after the Leicester game, I think it was that I covered with him. And I thought I'd just bring this in with yourself. Do you feel like we've obviously got now? We're almost. To be fair, I didn't realise the transfer window in actual fact starts tomorrow. It's not actually the first tomorrow. Do you feel like we are primed to buy anyone? And do we think that Ed Woodward is actually going to back this potential effectively as a title challenge, unfortunately, on the same amount of points as Liverpool, who are top? So we're only second on goal difference. Is Ed Woodward going to fork out the money, and are we now going to buy some players?
I really don't know. I mean, he has to. I mean, he has to. If there is a title race, then he has to back him. Obviously, Diallo is going to come in, but apart from him, I think we need I guess a fullback. But I don't think so. We're gonna get a fullback or either a CDM or a centre back. So I feel we might get a CDM. Uh, because we lack in options in that position. Obviously, Matt is the only sole CDM we have in team. So I think we need another CDM. So and I think of an experienced CDM, we need not just a young or upcoming CDM. We need someone experienced. So I think Edward has to back him. Do I think he's gonna back him? I don't think so. But I think
I think yeah,
yeah.
it's best in many ways to hope for the best, but prepare
Mhm.
for the worst. I think that's probably what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to do. He needs to prepare for the fact that
Yeah.
for the best that we're going to sign quite a few players that he needs, particularly a centre back. I feel, but obviously prepare for the worst and the fact that we won't buy anyone apart from obviously Diallo coming in, who we already arranged to be fair in the summer. So I'm hoping Ed Woodward isn't going to be sitting on his laurels, let's say, for the next 4 weeks. And we're going to see him active in the transfer window and hoping to ultimately make it a greater likelihood that we're going to do something magical this season. That's his job. His job is to facilitate and to improve our chances of success on the footballing field, not just on the business side of things. So yeah, that's just another
Mhm.
message for Ed Woodward if he deigns to watch this show. Uh, Red Devil 20 has put Rashford, not our best player, but just my favourite. Bruno is very, very close to changing my mind, but I love Rashi. Yeah, it's always positive, isn't it? I think we're now 10 games unbeaten. I think we are in the league. It's always very uh, good to have so many players that we give credit to today. I think there's lots of players that we haven't even mentioned who were very, very good. Just a few sort of standout players in mind. So just bearing that particular thought in mind, who would you give? There will be a couple of other questions after this, but who would you give man of the match to for this particular match on a in a Manchester United shirt?
I think Eric Bailly, of course, because he's been phenomenal and in the entire games and the crucial block he made in the end. I think yeah, you have to give him the man of the match. You can't give anyone else. I would say maybe Martial, but I would give it to Eric Bailly instead
Yeah,
today as well because of the block.
I
Yeah.
mean, for me, to be fair, obviously Eric Bailly was exceptional in terms of his defensive play, but I thought Paul Pogba was brilliant today. A key part of that first goal in terms of his creativity and losing the ball, but also won the penalty for the winner. Key point, and obviously all of his passing, a lot of the balls that he played. There were some that were absolutely outrageous. There was there was a ball in the first half, wasn't there, where he was in the right hand corner, the right hand bottom corner of the pitch, and just smashed it. And luckily, obviously, what's the name of their keeper? The one from Arsenal, um, Martinez, is it? Martinez,
Mhm.
and they obviously came rushing out to stop it because I think it was going to Martial Rashford. I can't remember which one it was, but it was literally miles that he kicks it in perfect pass again, and he's all the way through his passing. Some of his long range passing is just an absolute joy to watch. So Paul Pogba for me, but to be fair, even looking past Paul Pogba and Eric Bailly, there were some really, really good and positive performances in there. We'll just get into a few more of these comments before I sort of look to wrap things up with a couple of my final questions. So we've got from Red Devil 20, yeah, can't see anyone joining this window. He'll be delighted with where we are. So I'll be like, nah, it's fine. Save the Glazers. Yeah, I mean, that is a sort of thought process that we've had with it from Ed Woodward over the past few years. So hopefully he's going to sort of, one of his New Year's resolutions is to spend money, let's hope. And yeah, we've got from Red Devil 20 as well, maybe Max Aaron's mind. Lots of rumours, but that's purely for a backup. And obviously he's talking about the money as well at this point. And yeah, so yes, as you sort of spoke about, I think you sort of mentioned as well, we might be in for a full back, and I think Max Aarons of Norwich City is someone that we are linked to as a sort of deputy for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which would be, I feel like, would be good strength and depth for us because again, I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka has been forced to play a lot of minutes under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's played, it's
Mhm.
below obviously, away and stuff. So, yeah, it would be good to see some support that in the right back. But we have got other, I feel, more important positions that we need to strengthen. Centre back and CDM, I think, is where we really do need to see some reinforcements. And then Sir Marcus Rashford has put, "Who's your favourite manager in United?"
So Alex,
Yeah, I mean,
so Alex,
for me, it's got to be Sir Alex Ferguson, purely in terms of my lifetime. Obviously, he's the one that managed for the longest amount of time, and obviously won us the most amount of trophies. Everything about the way he managed the club was imperious, peerless. Best manager in the history of football by any metric, any means. Just an incredible man. Wish he could have gone on forever, but enjoy his retirement. And let's hope we can win it for him and for all the United fans in May. Just a very quick question as well. One of my sort of final questions is, what were your thoughts in terms of if we look at away from Manchester United, just because of the links that we've had with Jack Grealish? What were your thoughts on his performance this evening?
it's been great. I mean, I mean, people saying that, oh, 80 million too much. I mean, this guy is worth more than 80 million, in my opinion. 100 million or 120 million. I mean, this guy is absolutely world class, and we should try and get him either in January or in the summer. It would make such an influential difference to our squad in terms of creativity and the crossing as well. I mean, the crosses he puts in the box is absolutely lethal. So yeah, I think he's gonna be a really dangerous player. We need to get him. I mean, we really need to get him. I mean, can-
He was.
Ed Wood was the show.
I have seen Jack Grealish quite often, and he's just been. But today it was outstanding, simply outstanding. The crosses that he was putting in, it wasn't just it wasn't just the weight of the ball, it was the placement, it was how beautifully crafted the chances were for their forwards, and obviously they missed quite a few chances, didn't they, in that second half when Grealish sort of moved more into the game. But also his movement on the ball as well, the amount of free kicks he won. He just kept on getting up, and to be honest with you, I felt we were quite lucky, really, that a lot of more of our players didn't pick up yellow cards, because some of the cynical fouling on him from our players, I mean, it was clearly quite targeted, just kicking him and so forth, and just all seemed to get up. And yeah, I was also the decision making. I think the way he was linking up the play with Aston Villa, always looking for a teammate, really, really top quality player. And as you said, he's moving into that one now for me as well. Really sensational. And as you've also spoken about, it's almost worth saying to Villa, name your price, because that's how well he's playing. The amount of assists and goals he's got in a team like Aston Villa, and they're sort of high flying with his efforts as well as other players. But yeah, Jack Grealish almost seems like the jewel in their crown, and it would be good to prize him away from Aston Villa at some point. We've got another comment from Sir Marcus Rashford. Is Maguire worth 80 million? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, I thought Maguire was relatively solid again if we bring it back to today's game. But do you think Maguire? Oh, let me get back to the comment. Sorry, from Sir Marcus Rashford. Yeah, do you think he's proven that he's worth 80 million? Now we're about a year and a half, aren't we, since he was bought?
Obviously, he's not worth 80 million, but he, he has improved the team defensively. You got to agree on that. He has improved the he has improved the defense in terms of um you know that we concede less from set pieces and all, and he wins everything in the air. So yeah, and he bullies the forwards and all, and the attackers, and he's quite aware. He manhandles, like the game against Wolves, where he was manhandling who was it, Neves or someone, I don't know, Adama Traore, I think, right? So yeah, the way he was even today, he was really calm in defense, and he's really cool and calm, and he was organizing his defense well. So I think he is an important defender, but he's not worth 80 million. But I think he's one of the best centre backs in the Premier League, in my opinion. Just because he doesn't get injured, and he's been consistently performing well recently as well. And then, apart from what has been going on with him off the pitch, he's been put that behind, and he has the mentality to really push on and still be performing, and coming back from a poor form, which he started this season, and converted into a really decent and good form, consistently with Lindelof as well, and with Bailly as well. So it's good to see how he's performing as well.
Yeah, I think in terms of the 80 million to price tag, I don't think
Mm.
he's worth that in any means whatsoever. I think you probably have to half that, and that's probably about right. I think for Harry Maguire, about 40 million. If you look at, I know there's obviously inflation which you have to consider as well, but if we look at a lot of our other centre backs, what their prices are, I think they're all within the region of about 30 million, aren't they? Fewer than like Lindelof and
Mm.
Bailly and so forth. I think it's very interchangeable with them. I don't see double the player really in terms of what Maguire offers.
Mm.
I also feel like with Maguire, it's all about the defensive partnership. I think with Lindelof, you see two players who are far too similar. Both ball playing, both but both at the same time not quick, and pace really does matter. Unfortunately, the highest level at centre back, and so really, I think Eric Bailly makes Harry Maguire better, which is what you want to see, and obviously we want to see vice versa, Harry Maguire making Eric Bailly better. But I think we've really settled on a solid and good partnership with Bailly and Maguire for me. Hopefully, we're going to see, because just to bring on to the other point, of course, which you raised as well, which is where we can see that Maguire is worth a lot of money, is how fit he's been throughout his time here. He's not really missed any matches. We won records having the most amount of minutes in terms of Europe and stuff. So he's always there and erstwhile. So you could say from a fitness point of view purely that Maguire is worth that money, because all of our other players, for example, Eric Bailly, who may well be potentially as good as or better than Harry Maguire, at least Harry Maguire is always available. And ultimately availability can sometimes almost counterintuitively be more important than talent, and Harry Maguire ultimately is is all available, and so that could be an argument to say why he is worth that amount of money. A couple of comments from Red Devil 20 just bringing up in terms of what we spoke about in terms of Jack Grealish. So just put, Grealish picks up clever positions. Never was a huge fan of him before and said don't get him, but he's now got better players around him at Villa and he's taken himself to that next level. And he's also put, as you sort of brought up as well, Pogba's replacement. Well, my thoughts are in terms of Pogba that I don't feel like we can replace him with the like for like, because no one has got really, or at least few players that we could get, almost no one could get hold of, I should say, in world football has that range of passing, and his ability to obviously pick a pass is second to none. Really, it's just absolutely. We saw it again today. It was absolutely fabulous. But Grealish ultimately is definitely want him involved in Manchester United, and he does. I think a bigger club will come in from eventually, won't they? Even if it's not Manchester United, sooner or later he's going to move to a bigger club, and we want to be at the front of the queue because ultimately English, so you get the homegrown quota up, Premier League proven. A bit of a stat padder, a bit like Bruno in terms of goals and assists galore. So that's going to bring our goals scored up dramatically. So yeah, Jack Grealish, for a myriad of reasons, would be such a good player and such a positive acquisition for the club. And obviously, Sir Marcus Rashford, but I think Maguire would be better if he was faster, in my opinion. Yeah, I think a lot of Harry Maguire's failings and frailties and mistakes come in because he is too slow. There was a moment, in fact, in the first half where Eric Bailly got slightly out of position and he couldn't make the challenge on the Aston Villa player because he was behind him, and a ball came across and Harry Maguire was favourite to reach it, but it was almost like Harry Maguire was had concrete boots on and was going through treacle as he tried to run it, and he eventually got it totally away. But it was comical for me. I laughed out loud because I just couldn't believe how slow he was. He was literally like waddling towards it and finally got it clear. I thought he wasn't actually going to get it. So yeah, definitely I think if he was more speedy, I think that would solve a lot of the things that we point out, Maguire's mistakes. And Red Devil 20 Spurs, I reckon he'll go in terms of Jack Grealish. The only thing I'd say in terms of Spurs is that they don't tend to like to spend money, do they? So, and obviously Aston Villa are going to want quite a bit of money, so I don't think Spurs necessarily would be who Jack Grealish will go to. I think it will be a player, some club who don't mind forking out a ridiculous amount of money, because that's ultimately what Grealish is worth. But yes, I think we'll sort of summarise things now. Really, exceptional win. We've all that matters really in these title races is getting the most. It's almost like a Michael Owen quote, really. But all that matters is that we get more points than anyone else. We win more points, and no matter how we do it, it was a very positive performance. I think today. I think all the lads were actually up for it. We said against Wolves they needed to really improve their attitude and commitment and perseverance, and which I think they really did do today. And yeah, I'm hopeful, looking forward to the future of the season, and hopefully we can really do something spectacular again this season. So yes, thank you for everyone that's joined us. So we'll just sort of shout out a few names. So thank you to Sir Marcus Rashford, Red Devil 20, and obviously Psycho Anon as well, and all of the other people that were joining us, and just to sort of listen along and watch along, as well as all of you people who will watch it back as well. So thank you all for watching and taking the time to join in with the community. I remember that we're Real United Talk. You can join us or you can follow us on Twitter, obviously at Real United Talk. So make sure that you subscribe, like, and share the video, and really help us grow the channel into this new year. But any final thoughts from yourself, Pankaj, before we leave?
I mean, great win, and that's all I can say. I mean, the team is moving into the right direction. Obviously, we need to take one game at a time. I don't think so. There's still a definite title race. I mean, it's still an open season, so anything can happen. But yeah, the mentality of the team, I think there is a strong mentality which we have built in the few games we have, and in terms of the consistency as well we have achieved. So yeah, we need to keep on going and keep on getting 3 points in try. Yeah.
100%. And did you want to shout out your Twitter again, like we normally do?
Yeah. Pankaj Pelwani one is Twitter ID. You can find it on Twitter. And you want to shout out anything, Kyle? I don't think so. You do.
So my Twitter is at GeorgeKyle9. Obviously GEORG, like you can see on the screen, and KYLE 9, obviously the figure. And you can follow me on Twitter if you'd like. Sometimes I come out with a few good tweets or bits and pieces. So yeah, give me a follow. But obviously the main thing though is to follow Real United Talk and really get involved, because we are looking to grow the channel. And remember, if you do want to get involved with the channel in terms of live content, if you wanted to join as a guest or maybe even present, remember to direct message us on that at Real United Talk Twitter handle, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, because we are always looking for new voices as well, to get involved. It's just sort of thing I'd iterate there. And cheers, lads. Speak soon from Red. That's all from us. Have a happy new year for the rest of what we've got left.
Yeah. Happy New Year
around the world, and take care. Thank you very much, and come on, United!